Well, hello everybody, and once again, welcome to another edition of Pray on This. Before we get going, hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Today's talk is about the new MPP for Hamilton Centre, Sarah Jama. I often get asked, especially by people on the very left wing of the political spectrum, why I vote the way I do. Why do I have right of center views? Why do I work for conservative politicians? Why is my blog and podcast right wing? Don't you know this kind of thing is what brought Donald Trump to power? It's the same as being a Nazi. Your way of thinking and your politics are racist, oppressive. They hurt the poor, and they will lead Canada into being the same sort of cesspool that the United States is. When I answer these charges, the person or people asking the questions are often shocked by my answers. The first is, I never supported Trump. I think he had some good policies and some bad policies, like all politicians do. Yet in 2016, when Trump was the nominee of the Republican Party, my thoughts were exactly the same as they were 1 week later when Hillary Clinton won the Democratic Party's nomination. 270 million American citizens, and this is the best that either party could offer? If I was an American, I wouldn't have voted for either one to be president. Besides, the argument is faulty because it's not the right wing GOP of the US that's pushing division, identity politics, or racist radical theories. It's the Democrats, especially the far left, like the Squad with Andrea Ocasio Cortez, Ilan Omar, Anya Presley, Cori Bush, and others. It's not the red states like Florida, Texas, Tennessee, or Kansas with major crime problems, out of control taxation, and population and business decline. It's the blue states like California, Oregon, Washington, and New York. It's not the cities with right wing mayors and right wing district attorneys having a homeless crisis, drug use in the open, people urinating and defecating on the streets, widespread crime, both in terms of shoplifting and carjackings or cars just being broken into. No, that's in democratic cities like Chicago, Los Angeles, San Francisco, where all crime is up, murder is through the roof, and hell, shoplifting is so bad that Walmart in Portland, Oregon has closed all of its stores. When the confused look appears on their face and I say to them, it's policies like defund the police, shoplifting is a victimless crime, and race-based identity policies is what the people I mentioned above all deal in. They excuse bad behavior or the downright criminal behavior of these people based on race, historical injustice, or poverty. They will go so far as to blame the criminal behavior not on the criminal, but those who try to enforce the law, the police. They excuse the drug use and tell you that safe supply is the answer, safe injection sites. They tell you that the homeless aren't there by their own fault. I'm sorry, but drug addiction is a major cause of homelessness. They do not enforce the small laws like shoplifting or minor assaults. And then they're shocked when all crime goes up, especially violent crime. They'll tell you that more police is not the answer, that it's social work. But when you suggest to them that possibly things like the destruction of the North American family structure, where two parents in a household, that could be a major leader in crime, and that a lot of policies that they're suggesting, they don't alleviate poverty, they just make it generational. and that it repeats over and over. They'll claim that you're insane. You're not agreeing with me. You must be a bigot or a racist or a white supremacist. If you really pay attention, the biggest racist is the person who's seeking the election. You may ask what all this has to do with Sarah Jama. Well, it's well documented that Ms. Jama is a social justice warrior. She has used identity politics. She supports defund the police policies. She has made many anti-Jewish statements. She has pushed white privilege narrative. She went so far as to call her biggest challenger, Deidre Pike, a product of white privilege. Now, there are some very real differences between Ms. Pike and Miss Jama. Ms. Pike is white, a lesbian. She's 60 years old. She is a Hamilton native and is a columnist with the Hamilton Spectator. She is also an activist and a social justice warrior who concentrates on poverty and equity issues. And she's a liberal. Jama, on the other hand, is 29 years old, black, a Hamilton transplant from Brampton. She suffers from cerebral palsy and needs a wheelchair to get around. Has been arrested for obstruction and assaulting police at a demonstration which she organized and led against the tearing down of an illegal homeless encampment, where there was lawlessness, public urination and defecation, and used needles strewn about. While Pike's nomination was not challenged by any community groups, the B'nai B'rith Association of Canada made full public statements and comments on Twitter against the Jewish state of Israel made by Miss Jama and against Jewish people as a whole, asked the NDP first not to certify Miss Jama's nomination, as she has definite anti-Semitic and racist views. And then, after they did, they asked that Miss Jama be dumped as a candidate. The reason was the above-mentioned tweets that remained in place well into the by-election, in which Miss Jama did hold the seat for the NDP. I'm curious why Ontario NDP leader Merritt Stiles or the national NDP leader Jagmeet Singh did nothing to stop this person. Please remember, unlike the other political parties, the NDP is one party, coast to coast to coast. So Jagmeet Singh is actually the ultimate leader of the NDP, and then the provincial wings have a subordinate leader. So Merritt Stiles' boss is actually Jagmeet Singh. Why didn't they stop this person who has been arrested for obstructing and assaulting police, which, considering since she uses a wheelchair to get around, she had to do something pretty over the top to get arrested. That's just really bad press to be arresting a disabled woman in a wheelchair. She's also made several anti-Semitic statements. She's made several untruthful statements, going so far as to say that police in Canada, at the behest of the Jewish Zionist state, are killing babies. It's obvious that Ms. Jama is not fit to hold elective office. Why would the NDP allow this person to run? And in God's name, what is wrong with the people of Hamilton Centre? Now, I know that there are those who say, well, it's Hamilton. They always vote NDP. They probably didn't realize who they were voting for. Well, I spent 2 years living in Hamilton after my divorce, and I lived on the border between Hamilton Centre and Hamilton East Stony Creek. I was in Hamilton East Stony Creek, but just a couple of streets over was the said riding. And I would say that this is an insult to a huge number of Hamilton residents. First of all, there are those who did not vote for her. Jama did have a lower vote percentage than the former NDP leader Andrea Horwath, who less than a year ago won that riding with 60% of the vote. Ms. Jama only got 54%. But There are also a bunch of people there that do just blindly vote orange because that's the party they've supported for the last 19 years. But are you trying to tell me that a lot of them weren't informed? This was everywhere on the news. It was in the Spectator, the Toronto Sun, the Toronto Star, and on all local newscasts. I think some of them just really ignored who they were voting for and voted for that orange party that they just have to support. As for the NDP itself, this is just further proof that they are not a serious party. They are not trustworthy people. They are not ready, nor are they fit to form government in Canada, Ontario, or elsewhere until they can get their house in order. As for my friends on the far left, and yes, I have a few, I really want you to think before you start calling someone on the right a fascist or a Nazi. Please remember, Adolf Hitler was not a right-wing nut. His party was the National Socialist German Workers' Party. What he was is in the name of his party. He was a socialist. Yes, he was different than the communist Stalin, but he was still a socialist. I know a lot more people on the right than I do on the left. So far, I've never met a conservative that says Israel is an apartheid state, or says anti-Semitic things, or any other racist thing for that matter. Nor have I seen calls to defund the police, be the champion of homeless encampments, safe injection sites, safe supply, or by what name you call God. What we care about is the content of your character. Justice for all in the here and now, not the historical past. We care about the person, not the problem. So therefore, when it comes to people who are addicted to narcotics, we think treatment and getting them back on track is a better way to go. We don't believe that people should be homeless, and we try to get them into better places. We don't care who you worship, how you worship, or by what name you call God, or if you choose not to worship. We don't even care about your sexual orientation. What we care about is the content of your character. Compare that to whom the left or the far left put up for election and the views that they hold and support. I know the comparison may hurt, but that does hurt when your feelings face the facts. It seems that for the extreme left, the NDP, and the voters of Hamilton Centre, it's perfectly fine for people to live in homeless camps, be addicted to drugs, for crime to rise, and for there to be lots of potholes in your street, just as long as the road to hell is smoothly paved. That, as always, is Pray on This. I'll be seeing you real soon with my comments on the federal election scandal, and probably later again this evening with my comments on the Ontario budget, which is being released today. It's going to be a very busy day for me and on my channel, and unfortunately, these will be the last 3 videos you see until next week, as I have several business meetings tomorrow and Saturday. Have a wonderful weekend. Spring seems to be here. It's kind of gray outside and raining, but at least the snow's leaving. Have a wonderful weekend. Bye for now.